Good morning. Good morning. I had to start over because I forgot my coffee talk. I forgot the coffee. Can't have coffee talk without the coffee. So, welcome. You are here for the day one of the 21 Day Generous Challenge. So if you haven't seen my video, I think it was from yesterday, I had a really beautiful weekend. Some really beautiful things happened in my meditations and some things that came up. So you can go back and watch that if you're interested. But it just moved me into a place of just really wanting to explore what is generosity? What is it on both sides? How can it show up in our lives? And so we're going to be doing this 21-day challenge. And I would love for you to join in, invite your friends to join in. It's something we really want to ponder, right? So the first thing we're going to do is what I do in the inner circle. I always like to turn over the topic because sometimes our minds sort of go, I know what it is. I don't need to think about it, right? And so we're going to open our minds up to what is generosity now at this place in our lives, right? It might have been something else 5 years ago, but what is it today for us, this present moment, and how do we want to be leaning into it? So let me tell you a quick little story. So years ago, I held a yoga for weight management course. And a lot of the work I still do is based on that yoga for weight management. We are what we think we are, basically. But I had a task with the folks that were in that class to define if they were a loving person. And of course, most people are like, totally, I'm totally loving. I am totally loving, right? And then I had them define what is a loving person. And they jotted it down: patient, open, flexible, compromising, all the things that they believed is loving. And then when we went back, it's like, ooh, I'm not super loving to my immediate family, to my spouse, to my kids, to my parents. I'm not really super loving in the way that I truly define it. And that is a lot of what we do. We sort of just shut down our mind and think that we've got it covered and we don't explore. And so part of this inner gaze is to actually look and see, what are you doing? Are you in alignment with showing up in the way that you want to be showing up? So that's why we're here. So the first thing we want to do is ask, what is generous? And I went up, and I do this for the inner circle group too. I go to look up the definition. So some definitions, one of them is showing a readiness to give more of something, money or time, than is strictly necessary. Again, showing a readiness to give something more than expected, money or time, than what people think you should. So that's generous. Okay. Some synonyms of generous: giving, goodness, hospitality, unselfish, altruism, kindness, lavish, open-handed, unsparing, bountiful, free. So those are what we're talking about, this generous heart. In the vlog I did yesterday, though, I was realizing I'm really pretty good at giving. I like to give. I'm comfortable giving, but receiving, I have a lot of trouble with that. I have something that sort of like lets it sort of ricochet off of me, and I don't always let it really land. And so when someone is giving you a gift of a compliment or a generous gift of some sort with money or whatever they're doing, and you just sort of let it kind of fall off of you, then you're sort of denying a gift. And so we want to be exploring in the next 21 days the idea of being generous in the way we give, but also in the way we receive other people's gifts. Okay, so I'm going to just take a pause on that. So we're talking about generosity. We're talking about being generous, and we're talking about receiving another's generosity or being generous. Okay. So the way that we are breaking it down is that we can give in different ways. Not everybody has enough money to write checks, right? But that's not the only way we can give. What are some other ways that we could give? Just giving you a ponder. So what are some ways that you can give besides giving money? Money is beautiful. Money is powerful. Money can be a spiritual practice for sure, right? For sure. But what are some other ways? And we break it into the 3 W's. So first, wealth. You can give in your wealth, right? You can also give in your work. right? You can actually get your hands dirty. You can get in there and do the work. And the third is wisdom. You can share what you know. You can tutor, you can teach, you can ask if somebody wants your feedback or advice. We have many ways to give. Just checking in on a friend, very generous. Okay. So how do you typically give? Do you give money and not think about it much? Do you give money and think about it quite a lot? Is it with your heart? Remember, generosity comes from the heart, not the action. So when you're writing the check, do you feel generous? Do you remember who it's going to? Do you picture the faces of the people that will be affected by what you're giving? Or do you get your hands dirty? Do you put your boots on? Do you go to it? Do you work for it? Do you help for service? Or do you share your wisdom? Do you open yourself? Like, I'm trying to be generous here by doing this 21-day challenge, giving my wisdom because I want to give generosity because someone has been generous to me. And that's the way it works. That's the way it works. Okay. So your first challenge is to notice, how are you typically giving your generosity, wealth, wisdom, or work, right? And maybe today, for this day, maybe you'll do something a little bit different. And we could go into the love languages for those that you know. I think it's Gary Chapman talks about, everybody feels loved in different ways. I think there's 5 love. I know there's 5 love languages from his study. Is you can have, acts of service. Can you do something for someone, right? Can you give someone a compliment? Can you offer to spend some time with someone? Or giving someone a massage or a tickle on their feet or a brushing of their hair. What can you do? What can you do that would help you feel generous today in a way that's a little bit out of alignment? What's the 5th one? Touch, time, and talking, communicating, like really listening is another way of acting in the love language. So noticing how you're being generous today. And as I say in the inner circle, sometimes we're doing it from what we want and not from what the recipient is wanting. So remember, unselfish, lavish, open-handed, unsparing. It's showing a readiness to give more of something than is strictly necessary. So we're going into generous heart in a way that maybe you typically don't. Look and see what people are wanting around you, and then raise your hand and feel what it feels like to feel generous. Okay. That's day 1 challenge. Let me know how it goes, and I'll see you tomorrow. May it be a beautiful day filled with joy. All right. Much love.